Hello and welcome to album review number 16. Today I'm going to be reviewing Django Django by Django Django. Their eponymous, is that the word? Eponymous debut album, when you call something by its original name, like Rush or Iron Maiden. You know, bands that their first album's their name, their band name. It was released in 2012, and I actually discovered this band by playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Anyone who's played the Grand Theft Auto games know that there's loads and loads of music in there, of loads and loads of different genres. Uh, if you listen to the car stereos in the game, if you listen to the radio, um, and it's a great way to get into new music. I couldn't tell you how many bands actually I've gotten into by playing the Grand Theft Auto games, and Django Django is one of them. I'll get to this. The song is on this album that was in the game, but I'll get to it when we get to it, basically. Um, it's got 13 songs on it, and they're all pretty short. It's an electronic rock album. They're an electronic rock band, but I'd also say they're quite art rock as well, and there's definitely some progressive elements. They wouldn't be classed as progressive, but I'd personally say they are. I'd say they're very experimental in a lot of ways. I definitely say that they're unique. There's a lot of progressive bands that are classed as progressive that all a lot of them sound the same. Well, this band, I've never heard a band that sounds quite like them. But anyway, let's get right into it. 13 songs, like I said, all pretty short. The first one is an instrumental just called Introduction. Really sort of sets the mood. It sort of gets you to know the sound of the band, gets you familiar with them, so you kind of know what to expect. There's nothing really drastic in the album. There's no drastic changes. I think every time signature is pretty much 3/4 or 4/4. There's nothing really complex. Though in one of their later albums they did do a song in 7/4 or 7/8, I think. Sundials, I think was the name of it, or Sundial. Introduction, sort of instrumental, sort of electronic track that sort of builds up the album, basically. Track 2 is Hail Bop, which fades in from Introduction, which is uplifting, sort of upbeat. Most of the songs on the album are sort of upbeat. Even the slightly moodier ones are not that dark at all. Django Django are a band that never get dark. You know, they tend to be quite light. I guess you could say they're, in terms of their electronic use, is sort of like, they're a bit like Radiohead, but a lot more uplifting, you know, in terms of the fact that they're electronic. Hail Bop's a great song. Another thing, I couldn't tell you any of the band members' names, but the singer has a very distinctive voice. He's not a fantastic singer, he's not one of the best singers on the planet or anything, but it definitely suits the music. And sort of adds to the whole sort of atmospherics of it. There's a lot of, throughout the album you will notice a lot of atmospherics, sort of slightly psychedelic noises in the background, sort of their voices, the singer's voices often sort of put effects on that as well. So there's a lot of effects, a lot of like post-production, sort of overdubbing on the album, which I have no problem with if it makes a great sound. Track 3 is Default, which again is quite upbeat, slightly more faster paced than Hail Bop. A lot of the songs on the album do sort of have similarities. They're not a band like, you know, King Crimson, where in the Court of the Crimson King every song sounds totally different. A lot of the songs do sound pretty similar, but they are all very good. They all have interesting chord sequences and riffs and that. So there's not really much you can say. This is going to be a bit of a difficult review because there's not really much you could say about some songs that you can't say about others, if you know what I mean. So I don't want to repeat myself a lot, but Default, there's good effects there. There's a sort of strange noise going on in the background throughout the song, that's noticeable and sort of adds to the effect. And I sort of like this sort of what sort of electronic sounds you hear throughout it. Track 4 is Firewater, which slows down the pace a bit. That's probably the one of the few slow songs on the album. There's maybe about 3 or 4. Slows right down, sort of, but also very uplifting, very nice song. Track 5 is Waveforms, which is my personal favourite on the album and the song that was featured in Grand Theft Auto 5, which is probably why it's my favourite, because I heard it first, and you know, if I'd heard the album from start to finish without having heard any of the songs on it, I genuinely couldn't tell you which would be my favourite. I really don't know. But Waveforms, as it is right now, is definitely my favourite, and still probably my favourite song. Um, it starts off with this sort of slow, sort of clapping sequence. It's not slow actually; it's pretty fast. And then the sort of rhythm comes in with the electronics. That's another thing. It's you don't there is bass guitar, but you can't hear it very well. A lot of the bass sound is more sort of a deep electronic sort of sound that sort of sounds more synthy. But one of my favourite things about Waveforms is the verses, the way the singer sings. Um, Sort of like the long drawn out words and stuff like that. It's very good, very effective, and I'd say it's just an absolutely fantastic song. Track 6 is Zoom Zoom, which quickens up the pace again. One of probably the more fast paced songs on the album. Also very electronic. I'd actually say Zoom Zoom. It sounds like it was originally supposed to be an instrumental. It does have lyrics, not very much. It sort of sounds like one of those songs that are sort of like an instrumental, and they just have the same beat from start to finish, but there's different sort of stuff going on with the chords. It sounds like the song might have originally been like supposed to be that. I don't think the lyrics are necessary. I think the song would have worked as an instrumental. I don't think I'm not saying it shouldn't be. It shouldn't have lyrics. I'm not complaining. I think it's fine with the lyrics, but I think it would have worked just as well without lyrics. It's one of those songs. It's like you get certain bands that maybe Vandergraaf Generator, maybe Nine Inch Nails have done something like that. They just sort of do a track that's the same beat for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but they just sort of improvise with the notes and the chords. It sort of sounds a wee bit like that, if you know what I mean. Track 7 is Hand of Man, which is probably, in my opinion, the most beautiful song on the album. It's very short, it's about 2.5 minutes. Like I said, I think the longest song on this album is 5 minutes. No dead long ones or anything, which is good because they're not that kind of band. Hand of Man is a very beautiful song. It strips away the electronic sounds, and it's mainly just sort of acoustic guitar that sort of shines through. It's very, very beautiful, very slow paced, a wee bit moody as well, but very, very good. Love's Dart's sort of similar. It sort of has a bass line going throughout the song. When I say similar, it's because it's quite moody. They're probably the two moodiest songs on the album, put right next to each other. Did I say track 7 there? Track 8 is Hand of Man. Sorry, no, Love's Dart. Yeah, track 8. I really like the lyrics of Love's Dart. I like quite a lot of the lyrics throughout the album. I'm not sure what a lot of the lyrics are about, but they sound very good. Like there's one on Love's Dart that goes, if you're walking in circles, you'll find yourself back at the start. Things like that. Nice sound to it. Love's Dart's one of the best ones on the album, I'd say. I'd say from track 9 onwards is when the album quality dips a wee bit. I'd say the first 8 songs are all absolutely brilliant, and track 9 onwards is still very good, but it dips definitely. Track 9 is War, and the only part of the song I really like is when it's sort of the atmospheric sort of vocalizing when it goes like like that. But it's a good song. Track 10, Storm, which is usually the song I sort of I forget the most throughout the album, but it is decent. Whenever I listen to it, it sort of sounds like one of the earlier songs on the album. I can't really think which one, but it sort of sounds like that, but it's sort of a different sort of chord sequence. Not much to say about that track. Track 11 is Life's a Beach, which is my personal least favourite song on the album. I think it's a wee bit too simplistic. There's a wee bit of nice atmospheric going on sort of near the middle or near the end, but it's a bit too much like, I don't want to say a pop song, but it's the closest thing to it on the album. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with pop music at all. I like a lot of pop music, but the album just has this sort of weird vibe throughout it, and this is the only one that sounds kind of normal, if you know what I mean. This is the only song that sounds kind of normal. Pardon. Track 12 is Skies Over Cairo, which is another instrumental. Just sort of sounds sort of Egyptian electronic music, quite experimental. Good track. And track 13 is Silver Rays. I'd say this is a very triumphant end to the album. It finishes the album on a high note. I'd say from track 9 onwards the quality dips, but I'd say track 13 is when it goes back up again. I'd say the first 8 tracks and track 13 are brilliant. Tracks 9, 10, 11 and 12 are a bit weaker than the rest, I'd say, but the first 8 especially are tremendous. Some of the best. Probably if you could split it into a vinyl, the first 7 tracks probably would be on one side. I think. I'm trying to think of it at the time. Yeah, you could fit about 26 minutes on a vinyl. It's less than 50 minutes. I think the album's about 40 minutes in total. I haven't counted, but I think it's about that length. It's quite a short album. Silver Rays it feels like the last track, if you know what I mean, when you listen to it. It's very good. That's Django Django. It's quite a short review because I don't really have that much to say about the album or that much to say about the songs. It's a very, very good album. I'd say actually one of the best debut albums of all time. Right up there with In the Court of the Crimson King and 10 by Pearl Jam. There's a lot of bands that I might actually do a video talking about the best debut albums, because there's some pretty weak ones like Rush, Iron Maiden, in my opinion, are sort of weak debut albums. And you get In the Court of the Crimson King, which is like one of the best. ELP, another really good one. But one thing I would say is if you're into progressive rock and you're not a big fan of sort of straightforward electronic music, I'd definitely still give it a listen. It's accessible and straightforward enough for the average listener to enjoy, but it's also experimental enough and just out there enough for the fans of more experimental music to enjoy. For example, if you've watched my videos, I love electronic and experimental music. I love Soft Machine, Jazz Fusion, Radiohead, Kid A is one of my favourite albums of all time. All that kind of stuff. Aphex Twin, I love all kinds of stuff. I really love experimental music. But my mum, for example, is not a fan of experimental music, really. She much prefers like more pop stuff, like she really likes T-Rex, music like that, which I'm not saying the music's bad, but she always much prefers more pop sort of orientated music, and she really, really loves Django Django. So there's definitely something there for everyone. If you like experimental music, even the most out there, crazy experimental music, I think you will probably like this. And if you like if you're the most easygoing, accessible pop fan on the planet, then you'll probably like this as well. It's somewhere right down the middle. Basically, it's one of those albums I don't think anyone could really dislike. I'm sure there are people who do, but I just sort of think like it's so good. It's so got something for everyone, but it's so unique and so interesting at the same time. I'd probably say it's one of the best albums ever, to be honest. Like I'd say, I don't have that much to say about each song, but just give it a listen straight through. It's tremendous. It really, really is. Django Django have now released 3 albums. They are a modern band. 2015 they released Born Under Saturn, and this year they released Marble Skies. None of their second or third album are as good as this. They both have some really good songs on them, but they're not as good as their first album, and I think they actually just released an EP, Winter's Beach, or something like that. So I definitely need to give that a listen. But whether or not they release another album that's as good as this, I don't know, but they're yet to do so. This is still by far their best, I'd say. And basically anyone, give it a listen. Like if you don't like jazz, you won't like Soft Machine, for example. That's what that kind of thing. If you don't like heavy metal, you probably won't like Tool, But can't think of anyone who wouldn't like this. So definitely give it a listen. I'm sure most of the people who watch my videos are progressive rock fans, but I think you'll like it. I'd say it is quite progressive. It's like I said, it's experimental. But anyway, thanks for watching. This was album review number 16, and I went to see King Crimson last week. I haven't made a video because I don't really have that much to say about it. It was really, really good. Just a wee quick bit at the end here. It was a really, really good concert. I just don't have much to say about it. It was The other concerts I'd been to, there were problems with the security. There were drunk people annoying us. So I wanted to talk about that. This time it was fine. The music was perfect. You know, not a note out of place. Uh, every band member was great. The songs were great. That's all I really have to say. It was just great music. King Crimson, you know, just they came on, did their stuff, and then left. It was brilliant. So anyway, thanks for watching. Not sure what I'm going to do next, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Whoops.